Cucumber. No, I'm not talking about the fruit. I'm talking about Cucumber, the tool used to create feature files that are synonymous with testing. Developers can write their use cases in this format, and automators can write their automation tests in this exact format too. So that must mean that the handover from developer to automator must be easy, right? No. You see, features are made of scenarios, and scenarios are made of steps. Each specific step links to its own specific code that, when executed, performs the task that was written in plain English. For example, this scenario would automate the process of logging me into Ticketmaster, navigating to the WWE Money in the Bank page, and then buying the best tickets possible. As you can see beneath the first step, there are some columns. These are the steps data that can be passed in, the top row being a column header, and each row beneath it being the actual data. However, if someone didn't know that these were the exact steps and just guessed what they look like, then the automated test would not work, and you'd need to spend some time finding the correct pre-existing steps. Not only would this be a counterproductive situation to be in, but the worst part is, this is most engineers' reality.
So why does this happen? And more specifically, why does it happen at Broadridge?
Good question, Dad. Broadridge automators make use of the IntelliJ IDE. This IDE brings together a number of Broadridge's testing frameworks to allow users to manually search through all pre-existing steps that they have to offer. Now, this is not as good as it seems, because actually getting permissions to access these steps takes time, and so does setting up the environment. Not only that, but as automators use a different Java version to those in the development team, developers may see environment errors when they try to use it. But it gets worse. If you didn't know where to look, you would still have to manually search through maybe hundreds of files to find the correct step. So without proper access to these steps, developers write rough outlines of how their code should be tested. These are named SBEs, and then automators have to figure out how to translate it to match their steps. So now we have a problem. There is a clear gap between developers writing SBEs and automators writing the automation Cucumber scripts. But how do we resolve it? Well, we could create an easy-to-use tool that recommends users steps based on their input. Excellent! But first, let's look at existing tools that are similar to the solution already. The first is GitHub Copilot. This tool reads user-inputted text and suggests code to them. Although not being able to suggest Cucumber code, the use of AI to recommend code is still impressive. However, this tool doesn't always suggest the right code and is still faulty. We don't want to make a tool that is faulty and doesn't suggest relevant steps. Next, let's have a look at Gmail Smart Compose. This tool is fairly straightforward. You start writing a sentence and Google will try to complete it for you. Although more similar to what we're looking to make, suggesting only one item might not be right for the user. So let's allow our tool to suggest multiple relevant steps. Finally, let's look at the abandoned Cucumber Pro. This aims to be an autocomplete tool similar to one we're looking to make. However, this still isn't what we want, as although it no longer exists, it also relied on the fact that the developers knew exactly what step they wanted to use. Instead, our tool should look at each word typed on the current line like a keyword and suggest steps that match with them. So now we know the gap in the market. Yes, there are autocomplete tools out there, and yes, there are Cucumber supported IDEs. However, there isn't an autocomplete suggestion tool used for Cucumber test scripting. By conducting some primary research, I decided that a random selection of automators and developers should give feedback of what kind of features they would like to see in the tool, as they're the ones who will be using it. And with their help, a number of functional and non-functional requirements were made. As well as that, 3 relevant stakeholders were interviewed to see how they felt about the current approach.
At the moment, writing SPEs is a very laborious task. Finding valid steps to use for any given process tool is never simple. There's no central repository where there's a standardized list of steps for a given product area that are pre-validated for the business. So it's always a huge time sink just trying to get any information out that we need, and it often leads to wider collaboration. So it's not just wasting our time, but it's wasting time of other teams as well. So we desperately need a way in which we can automate this system and make it a lot more streamlined to benefit us and our clients.
You can't imagine how difficult it is, going through all those files, hoping you'd find something useful for your automation scripts. I think I'm starting to lose my hair from how much time it takes, and oh boy, don't even get me started on how dull it is. Like when they come and tell me you have to write an automation script for tomorrow, I think it ruins my mood for the rest of the week, to be honest.
Yeah, so I am an expert on these sort of things, but the SBEs that are given for me rarely align with the steps that already exist. And this leads to me spending a lot of time searching through loads of files to find the correct step. But what I really need is a tool that would help fix the issue.
By adopting a rigorous development methodology, use case and class diagrams were created to help visualize the solution. From here, a number of social factors were also considered, including accessibility and usability. To make sure that the tool is widely accessible, it's been made to support over 60 native languages. It has a colour control option and also includes a number of buttons to make development and automation life easier. But enough talking. How about we take a look at the final solution, the implemented tool, after 2 months of continuous testing and development. When you first boot up the tool, you'll be greeted by the main page. Here you are invited to start scripting your feature file into the input area. However, if you're not too sure where to begin, you can always click the Format button and the tool will give you a helping hand. This Format button ensures that the feature file follows the Gherkin standards. Here, you can start writing steps beneath the scenario. But to do so, you must first use one of the Cucumber keyword starters, given, when, then or and. This was a conscious choice to encourage good practice. From here, you'll notice the pop-up window appear that will move with your cursor and filter through all the available steps as you type into a line. Once you've found a step that you like, you can click it and the tool will not only insert your step, but it will also insert all relevant step data with it. This reduces cognitive load and also makes an engineer's life easier. This feature works by first collating all steps and step data into one file. This has been done manually with Broadridge's steps, but for data protection reasons, I've created a test steps file for this demonstration. Getting all the steps and step data was a long process, but one that was definitely worth it, as now they're all here, steps created in the future can easily be added to the file through a simple git merge request. All data here is generic, and that's good, as Broadridge encourages using the generic data that can be used between clients. If we now move back to the tool, we can enter whatever data we like into the step columns, and when we click Format, the columns are nicely aligned again. If we didn't mean to do that, we can just click Undo. But we did, so let's click Format again. You might want to add examples to your feature file with the angular bracket. If we click Format again, the example section is inserted to its scenario. Now we might actually want to add another example header before that one. If we click Format again, the column is inserted as we'd hope it would be. But what happens if you want to add a background prerequisite block to the feature file, but you just don't remember that they're supposed to go before a scenario block? Never mind, because Format has you covered once again. A number of readability features are implemented, as you can see, from step starters to angular brackets to speech data to even the environment tag. Nice. Say for example you want to copy this to your clipboard, but you just don't want to click Ctrl and C. Then don't. Simply click the Copy to Clipboard button and then the job is done. If you want to save this feature file to a local destination, then do so by clicking the Save to File button. The settings page also gives you a tutorial on how to use the tool, so you know what your native language's step starters translate to. Now, I do have a problem. I'm bored of the colour blue. And you know what? I'm bored of seeing English text on the tool's background. And you know what? I don't even want to write in English anymore. That's not a problem though, as Automation Autofill is looking out for you. It's super customizable. And not only is it super customizable, but it also has a super memory. To make sure that users don't have to keep choosing their accessibility options, the tool utilises configuration files to remember their preferences. Here, if we close the tool and then reopen it, we can see that our preferences remain. From having thoroughly tested the final solution through unit tests, through security tests, through integration tests, and user acceptance testing, I am proud to say that all functional requirements have been met, all non-functional requirements have been met, and I've gone one step further by implementing 2 language accessibility options. Now, I know through first-hand experience that Automation Autofill is highly usable, highly accessible, and it bridges the gap between developers and automators. But don't just trust my word for it. Why don't we catch up with the guys at Broadridge?
Our team has been crying out for automation autofill for a long time. It's absolutely revolutionized the way that we work now. Our efficiency and productivity have massively improved just from being able to have a standardized set of results at our fingertips ready to go. There's no more redundant dead time trawling through all the documentation, and we're not having to pester other teams as much to get the information that we need. We're now hitting our deadlines with a lot more ease, and it's can only be great news for us and our clients.
Automation autofill? Yeah, I started using it. Oh, it's great. Like I can get my SPEs done in no time now. Like, where was this the whole time we've been here? Like, I don't know. Like, was no one else using this?
Wow. Now that developers have access to our pre-existing steps, I love being an automator. I love developers that write the SBEs. I love automation autofill.
With plans to add more features in future releases and increase accessibility, Automation Autofill successfully meets and exceeds all user requirements. By solving the identified problem and filling the gap in the market, writing Cucumber feature scripts has never been easier. So, if you're a Broadridge engineer and longing for a highly accessible, easy to use tool that practically writes the scripts for you, then why not use Automation Autofill today?